Hi, folks. Merrick the Realtor here. So, you're in the market to purchase an apartment, and you keep seeing those same two words over and over, co-op and condo. So what's the difference? Which one's better? Well, my friends, the difference can be enormous. So let's break it all down, what they are, what it'll cost you, and which one might actually be right for you. Let's start with the cooperative apartment. These are called co-ops for short. The main takeaway with this property type is when you buy a co-op, you're not actually buying real estate. You're buying shares in a corporation that owns the building and leases you the apartment. You don't get a real estate deed, you get a stock and a lease. Co-ops are run by elected residents from the building, called the Board of Directors. The board reviews your finances, they will interview you, and then they can reject your application, sometimes without even telling you why. Now, if that sounds kind of intense, that's because it is. The board has a lot of power, and they can use that like a double-edged sword. Co-ops are super common in New York. In fact, about 75% of the apartments in Manhattan are co-ops. But in other parts of the country, you don't see co-ops that much. Now, a condo, short for condominium, is much more like traditional home ownership. When you buy a condo, you own your own specific apartment unit outright. You get a deed. It's your property. You also own a share of the building's common areas. For example, the lobby, the gym, the rooftop. And it's all owned jointly by other owners in the building. Yes, there's still a condo association with rules and monthly fees, but the key difference is they really can't stop you from buying. There's usually no board interview, no financial interrogation, and as long as you qualify for a mortgage and you make the deal, that apartment's yours. Condos are everywhere across the country, from Miami Beach to downtown Denver to San Francisco. They're especially popular with investors and people who move frequently. Okay, co-ops. Let's talk pros and cons. Co-ops are usually cheaper. In New York, a comparable co-op can run about 10 to 35% less than a condo in the very same neighborhood. And that is some serious money. The board approval process also keeps out the bad players, create a tighter knit and more stable community. And the monthly maintenance fees often include your property taxes and even sometimes utilities. So your costs are usually low and they're usually bundled to pay one and done. Now, the downside. That board rejects buyers, which can make it harder to sell. They may restrict rentals. In fact, some co-ops don't even allow sublets at all. Renovations, you need board approval. And sometimes getting a mortgage on a co-op is trickier. It can take longer, and some lenders don't even offer it. Bottom line, on co-ops, great deals financially, but less freedom. It can be a wonderful community, but you live by the community rules. Now let's talk condos. The big win here, freedom and flexibility. You own your unit, period. You can live in it or you can rent it out, which makes it a solid investment property. You can sell it whenever you want without a board telling you, no good. Getting a mortgage is much easier since lenders are totally comfortable with condos. So what's the downside? Condos cost more, plain and simple. Monthly HOA fees can be substantial, and unlike co-ops, those fees don't usually include your property taxes. All condominium fees are a la carte, so to speak. So everything is paid separately. And since investors can buy in, the community can feel a little less cohesive. With all the move-ins and move-outs, you may not know who your neighbors are at all. Bottom line on condos, more expensive, but you have maximum control over the property. All right, let's get into the numbers because this is where it really makes a difference. Co-ops are typically 10 to 35% cheaper from equivalent condos, and in Manhattan, that could mean a savings of $100,000 or more on comparable apartments, and that can be huge. Co-ops have monthly maintenance fees. These often cover property taxes, building staff, utilities, and a share of the building's underlying mortgage. All in, they can feel similar to or even less than condo fees. Condo HOA fees cover building maintenance and amenities. You may have to pay for your own utilities such as gas and electric, but your property taxes are almost always separate and extra in condos. Now for the down payment. Well, this one surprises people. Co-op boards often require 15 to 25% down, and sometimes even more. Some luxury co-ops want 50% down. Condos typically follow standard mortgage rules. You can sometimes get away with putting only 10% down. Closing costs. Co-ops win in this category too. Since you're buying shares and not real property, closing costs are usually lower. Condos have higher closing costs because you're dealing with a real estate transaction and title insurance. Resale value. Condos historically appreciate faster and are usually easier to sell, but co-ops can appreciate too. Unfortunately, the board approval requirement can slow things down and scare off your buyers. Co-ops come in all different styles, sizes, and amenities. Co-ops are the same, but they are usually much higher in price, both out the gate and monthly. So here's the takeaway, folks. If you want lower upfront costs and you're okay with community rules, board approval, and less flexibility, a co-op could be your move. You'll pay less to get in, but remember, you're buying into a collective. If you want full ownership, freedom to rent or sell at will, and an easier mortgage process, then go condo. Yes, you'll definitely pay more, but you'll have more control over the process. And honestly, folks, there's no universally right or wrong answer. It really depends upon your upfront finances, your monthly budget, your lifestyle, and how much you value freedom versus savings.
Folks, thanks for watching my newest video on co-ops and condos. If you have any questions regarding co-ops or condos, or if you're thinking about purchasing a co-op or a condo, don't go it alone. You're going to need help negotiating a good price, and you're going to need advice on how to deal with those co-op boards. I can do both for you. Call Merrick the Realtor, 914-774-5860. See you in the next video, folks.